Double duty today, we're going to do a review of the Bronze Dwarf and a little quick kit bash to make him into a Sir Valguard.
DorkLair.
About as simple as it gets, this is a very basic armored dwarf. It does have a little extra character with these golden parts, but for the most part, this is your army builder, inexpensive, great for customs, great for painting. Now let's get into this review. Quick look at the packaging. Here he is in the box. No bio on the side, but you can see the Silver Dwarf is also sharing that space with the Bronze Dwarf. And the card back has that brand new artwork with the epic castle battle and the reinforcements figures. And then here's a nice close-up so you can get a look at that head sculpt and the color here, which is a solid gunmetal color shared by a number of Legion builders. The skeleton, the goblin are both very similar to this. Of course, you have the gold of the antlers that goes with the other weapons he comes with. But for the most part, solid gray, basic figure. Really great for painting and stuff. And sometimes a solid color will really give you a sense of the sculpt work too, which is phenomenal. But a lot of the same parts as many of the other Mythic Legions figures. Dwarves have the lower arms, pretty much the entire leg is a dwarf leg, and then the torso, the upper arms, the hips, the shoulder armor are all shared by a lot of the other 1.0 figures. And here's a look at the Bronze Dwarf with a couple other shorter figures from Mythic Legions. On the right, we have a pretty typical goblin in Nubnik, so you can kind of get a sense of how the dwarves and the goblins scale. And on the left, we have a very similar Legion builder style dwarf in the Cavern Dwarf, although the Cavern Dwarf does come loaded with like a lot of extra stuff, I think because it was in a later wave and they could kind of like pack more in once they had established their molds and gotten a little more value out of them. They were able to kind of add more. That Cavern Dwarf is incredible. And actually, when the voting happened for the reinforcements, I personally voted for the Cavern Dwarf over the Bronze Dwarf. Nevertheless, very happy to be getting the Bronze Dwarf into the collection. Next, so you can see how a dwarf scales with standard 1.0 style figures. On the right, we have the hooved Zazar. And on the left, we have my Tibius that has that custom baseball style head from EM Custom Parts. Next, to see how the Mythic Legions Dwarf scales with a couple other lines. On the right, we have the Mezco Conan, and on the left, we have the Super 7 Conan. And finally, a couple Storm Collectibles Golden Axe figures. On the right is Axe Battler, and on the left is the Gold Skeleton, which actually matches pretty close to the tone of gold, just a little more metallic on the skeleton. For accessories, the Bronze Dwarf comes with the pair of pauldrons, comes with the massive double-bladed axe, the shield with the handle grip, and the sword all painted in that gold color. And then it's also got the leather shoulder strap or belt for storing a weapon. Standard 1.0 articulation, the head is on a ball joint. Lots of motion. The armor will get in the way if you put the shoulder armor on there. The arm is on a hinge and it can twist. You can spin the arm all the way around. It can rotate up about 90 degrees. Single jointed elbow with kind of minimal range here, typical for a 1.0 Legion. Twist at the gauntlet, and then you have a twist at the wrist, and then that hinges horizontally. Single ball joint at the waist. He can crunch forward, he can crunch back, he can go side to side a little bit, and he can twist. Hinge on the legs, can kick forward very far, can kick way back. Top of the thigh, there's a twist. There's a twist at the knee. The knee can bend up to about 90 degrees. Twist at the ankle. He can point his foot down. He can point his foot up. And finally, there's a ample ankle rocker. And last but not least, we have this little kit bash that I promised. And somebody had asked me in the comments to do sort of a poor man's Sir Valguard. Just all the same parts as Sir Valguard, just not painted the same as Sir Valguard. So I decided to kind of whip this together in the video. I ended up grabbing almost everything from the Deluxe Barbarian, which if you got in on the reinforcements, you're very likely to have a lot of these parts. And they're extras. Like, you can still have a full Barbarian. These are just extra parts from the Barbarian. The only single piece that's kind of tricky is getting one of these, like, loincloth pieces, because neither the Bronze Dwarf nor the Barbarian have it. So I just kind of quickly pulled this off of a skeleton Legion builder. But that might be the one piece where you might want to try to, like, find somebody with an extra to trade for, to try to get your Sir Valguard right on point. So I'm just going to throw this together off camera and we'll see how it looks. There you go, a little bonus kit bash for you. A poor man's Sir Valguard made really just from the Bronze Dwarf and extra parts from the Barbarian builder. Of course, we also just needed that loincloth, but everything else is the same exact sculpts and parts as Sir Valguard. You just have a completely different paint job, obviously, like it's not the same, but it kind of goes to show that if you want to get something similar or in the same spirit of another figure, you can often buy some of the more recent ones and just kind of like swap together a version of a character that you might want. You know, maybe this is Sir Valguard in his early years before he was knighted or something. Speaking of that deluxe barbarian, I do have a video review of that figure. It's from the older release, so it's a little bit different paint-wise than the newer one, but you can check out that review right here, and until next time, may the force be with you.